my Diane.
Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Jenny and I'm joined from Hong Kong by my co-host and sister Heather. Say hello, dude.
Hello.
Today we are discussing Series 4, Episode 6, Watching the Girls Go By. So grab a bag of licorice all sorts and let's get started.
This episode aired on the BBC at 8 p.m. on Thursday, March 28th, 1985. This week's viewing figures were 14.4 million. Pretty good. Easy Lover by Philip Bailey and Phil Collins was the UK #1 song at this time. And at the top of the UK box office was the movie Dance with a Stranger, starring Miranda Richardson. So let's move on to our trivia for the week. Have you got any trivia for us, dude?
Yes, we do. So, John Sullivan based the script for this episode on his own experiences of his youth, remembering the embarrassment involved with not having a date or finding it hard to get a date. The club scenes in this episode would be the very last time that we would see them shot in the studio format. It's actually easy to see the difference when you think about it, but all the future club and outside bar scenes were shot on location. Think about Yuppie Love, for example. Always cut from this episode is Just the Way You Are, sung by Yvonne, which is the same song that always gets cut from the Jolly Boys outing in the formats of home media and certain channels. I'm going to say most channels now.
This definitely wasn't something I'd seen until I watched this uncut version.
Yeah. Me neither, actually. This was the first time I saw that. Obviously, the Jolly Boys outing scene, we had that on VHS when we were kids, recorded from the TV, so we always knew that scene really well. But this, the first time we got it was VHS, so we didn't ever see Yvonne singing. So this episode marks the first time that we see Albert playing the piano and singing in the Nags Head. Rodney's date turns out to be a stripper, just like Raquel. And finally, we almost get our full cast of side characters in this episode. Boise, Trigger, Mike, and Mickey Pierce all together. We're just missing Denzel and Marlene, which is so close because Denzel's in the next episode. I wish they'd had him in the pub in this scene. And Marlene. Other than that, everything else I'll put into the episode breakdown. Shall we move on to the episode rankings for this week, dude?
Yes, let's do it. So, as our regular listeners will know by now, each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode, and prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. So if you didn't know that, then you're probably not one of our regular punters. So we'd love for you to like, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. Just get the voices out there for our podcast, because we would love to have more listeners. Not that we do not appreciate all the listeners we do already have, because we've had some lovely comments from you guys so far. But yes, we'd absolutely love it for you to share our videos with anyone you think might be interested. Major Only Fools and Horses fans would be good. So we release a new episode every Saturday. So we're going to move on now to Jenny's ranking. So Jenny, what did you rank this out of 64?
Shall we switch it up and do yours first? Okay, dude, so what have you ranked Watching the Girls Go By?
So I ranked this as 30.
Oh, wow, that's so high. Okay, I've just given away.
So I think yours might be lower.
Yeah, it's so funny because I said last week that your reaction gave mine away. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, mine is a lot lower. Tell me why for yours.
So I actually think this episode is pretty consistently funny. So I think this episode's got some great memorable moments in it, and it's got some pretty good one-liners. And even though the premise of the story is pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple, I think it's got some really nice character development for Albert in this episode. I think the most that we have so far in Series 4. And actually, I think that the character of Yvonne is really funny. I love her scene, and I love the way the actress does her character. And I'm actually sad we don't get to see her again. And I think that Del and Rodney's relationship is also really funny in this. And I love the dynamic between the three of them, because quite a lot of this episode is sort of Del, Rodney and Albert rather than just the brothers together. And I love the way that the dynamic between them works. Like, we've got them sort of ganging up on Rodney, and then at the end we have Del and Rodney ganging up on Albert. And we kind of get to see about how the dynamic works in the home a lot more in this episode, I think, than we have in the rest of Series 4. So yeah, I think this is a solid episode. So dude, I'm guessing you ranked it a lot lower. Can you tell me what you ranked this one?
My ranking for this one is 53.
Oh, that's really low.
But I'll just say that the IMDb ranking is 54. So I'm almost an
Wow.
IMDb match. And I think the reason is because, I'm not saying this is a bad episode. This episode for me is definitely not one that I used to like putting on. And I can't quite put my finger on why. I definitely think that the absence of the actual party scene at the end really weakens the end scene. Like, it would have been better if they'd just actually shown the party at the Nags Head instead of having them come back and explain what happened. I completely agree, though, about the Trotter dynamics and the development of Albert. I love Albert's little speech about the woman. I like the first war story that we get. I just don't think it's the strongest episode. I don't think the plot is that great. I think I'm not a massive fan.
Yeah, the plot is very basic. I agree.
Yeah, and like you've mentioned before that you don't normally like episodes that all center around one joke. Well, this is all over a joke of the bet being 50 pence, not being 50 quid, pretty much.
Yeah, I've got to say, I don't see that as the punchline in this episode. I see the fact that Rodney struggled to get a girlfriend is the punchline. The 50p thing is a bit throwaway. I don't feel like that's the whole, that's not the thing that's designed to get the big laugh at the end of this. Although, fair enough, it's a misunderstanding that sort of carried through the episode, but I don't feel like it's the main thing. Maybe that's why I don't see it the same way.
I think I'm missing the market trading and the wheeling and dealing in this episode. I don't love the storyline, but it's no big deal. It's still fine as an episode, but yeah, clearly it's not highly ranked on IMDb either because I think it's just a little bit of a forgettable episode.
Well, actually, something that I should bring up here, I think this is correct what I'm about to say here, that this episode was the last episode of Only Fools and Horses, apart from the 3 new ones in the 2000s. This was the last one that I saw of all of the ones before Time in Our Hands, because this one was really hard to get on VHS. I remember it was like a weird it was like an episode that was completely elusive, and I remember hearing about it and seeing it mentioned in the Radio Times or something once, and I was like, oh, what is this episode? I've never seen this one. So this was always a bit of maybe a holy grail episode for me, and by the time I actually got around to watching it, I actually really loved it. So I don't know what it is. Maybe my own struggles with dating. I relate with Rodney. I'm not sure.
No, yeah.
I'm terminally single, just like Rodney, so maybe that's why. But I definitely felt this episode for me. Yeah, it's a home episode. It's kind of like the very no major things happen, no big stories, but it's all about the characters, and I think that's something that I do really like about this episode. I guess if I have to pinpoint why.
It's great that you like it so much, because I think many people just don't think about it much, and it's great that you really like it. So
watching this episode go by, that's what we called it.
Yeah, maybe just the title makes you think, skip this one. I don't know. It's like a subliminal message. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I put this one on and I enjoy it when I do. So yeah, it's not really high on my list, but yeah, it's in the smack bang in the middle almost.
It's over halfway. So. Yeah. No, it's great. I'm glad you like it so much.
Jane, you're doing the episode breakdown, isn't it?
I know, we should have switched these last two.
We should have switched these two. We didn't think about it, yeah. Last week my rating was quite low for Sleeping Dogs Lie, and I was doing the episode breakdown and Jenny's was higher.
I mean, it doesn't matter because we're both talking about it, so...
True.
And I have to do the same amount of research and looking stuff up, no matter whether I'm doing the breakdown or not. So it doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay, so should we go ahead and start the episode breakdown?
La 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 la.
So we open in a crowded Nags Head. We can see Del and Boise playing cards at their usual little table on the left. And here we open on Albert playing the piano to a group of pubgoers who are all singing along, including Trigger. So this is one of Albert's signature songs that he plays all the time in the Nags Head, and that is I'm in the Mood for Love. So this song was actually written in 1935 and was featured in the film Every Night at 8, where it was sung by Francis Langford. But I think you can remember that he plays this other times in the future.
Oh, yeah. All the time, yeah.
So just a little side note here, and that is that I think Albert was playing the piano somewhere. I can't remember where, but maybe in the rehearsal room or something, and they were like, hey, you can play the piano, we're making that part of Albert's character. So yeah, it became a Buster Merrifield thing that became an Albert thing, and I think everyone loves Albert singing and playing the piano. So
it's great. Yeah, love it.
He's singing. So Trigger heads over to the bar and we see Maureen and Mike. Mike gives us the setup for this episode. There is a do on Saturday night, and he's selling the tickets. So he's pulling a bit of a Dell here. Everybody that he talks to, he sells them the last 2 tickets available. And he says to Trigger, they're $2.50 each, but you can have the pair for $5. which the audience doesn't laugh at, but hilarious. So we cut across and we see Del and Boise, and they're playing cards, but Mickey, Pierce, and friends are playing, it's like Garfield and friends. Mickey, Pierce, and friends are playing darts too close to them. Now they are actually gambling gear, and Del is winning. Boise makes a comment that Del is cheating, but it all seems to be in very good like humor in this case. Like it's not a losing streak kind of competitive.
Yeah, I wrote that. I said, nice to see they aren't taking poker as seriously now.
So Boise stands up and gives us some classic Boise lines.
Now listen, you cretinous little urks.
So this interaction actually shows us that this is the first time we know Boise and Mickey know each other, because we haven't seen them interact before. So I guess it's assumed because they're all in the same sort of circle. They're all in the Nags Head all the time. But Mickey is obviously a part of a younger crowd. He's more Rodney's friend, but it's good to see that crossover. So Trigger runs over and warns them that they need to stop gambling in the pub because Mike is afraid he's going to lose his license. Del goes over to the bar and he gets the same warning from Mike. So I looked this up because I was curious. So it seems the biggest law affecting this actually went into place in 2005, which was the Gambling Act of 2005. So now you can play equal chance games like poker in pubs, but there are still some restrictions. Back in 1985, though, they would have been subject to the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act of 1963, which means Mike was right. He could have lost his license if they were caught gambling in the pub.
Wow.
I think that's quite interesting. So Del ends up accepting another of the last 2 tickets for the do, where he makes Maureen go through all of his pockets for the money until he tells her that the money is in the jacket. I feel like this joke gets used again in the future, but I can't remember when. Is it in something else?
It's used in a lot of
it's used in other
films,
stuff.
if that's helpful.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering it from.
I've got to say, actually, that this is one of my favourite moments with Maureen and Del. I think I mentioned to you before, and I said they should have been a couple. They seem really well suited, and they have this lovely dynamic and banter, you know. Yeah, I think they'd have made a nice couple.
And thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's that. And then Rodney arrives, and he comes up to the bar, and he very politely orders a drink and nicely greets Mickey and asks if they're going down the Pizza Palace later. I thought this was quite clever because it's kind of an old trivia about how Patrick Murray got his start in the Pizza Hut advert. I thought that's quite interesting that they talk about the pizza.
Is that why they put it in?
I have to assume so.
Oh,
because they don't ever mention pizza. It's just kind of funny that he's like, you're going down the Pizza Palace later.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they couldn't say Pizza Hut, could they? Because that would have been advertising for them. So.
No, although, do they not mention Pizza Hut in the future? I don't know, maybe.
Well, they mention Boots, so maybe they don't care about advertising.
That's right, yeah. They do. As we mentioned in the Series 3 wrap episode in License to Drill, it's weird that they actually have branded advertising in that episode because they normally keep brands out. So, yeah. And in this case, they don't mention Pizza Hut, so that's irrelevant. I was going to say that Mickey is just very mean in this episode.
Yes,
he's only in this scene.
Like they're not friends anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference, I think, a little bit between being like ribbing your mates and being an actual asshole in this case.
Yeah, it's like Rodney's being bullied by a group of them. That's what it looks like in this situation.
Although, I suppose in the future, Mickey is always like this. He's very unsupportive of Rodney, and I guess he's not really a friend, as we've said before. In this episode, it feels like he's his enemy, but...
It's kind of like Boise and Del's dynamic, I guess, in a way. Mickey and Rodney's, that they're friends one week and then enemies the next.
I guess, but they don't, like, Boise and Del at least do some really nice favours for each other in the future and work together, whereas you never actually see...
They do tend to be self-serving whenever they do, though.
They do, but they do end up... I think you see a genuine friendship at the end, I guess, with Boise and Del. I don't know. I feel like there's a mutual understanding with Boise and Del, and they clearly have a lot longer of a history.
I was going to say they're older, so maybe that's why, but like maybe Mickey and Rodney would become Del and Boise in the future when they're older. Maybe it would be like that. When their friendship matures a bit, but they're still always scamming on each other and being horrible to each other sometimes.
Yeah, and Mickey is obviously like a mirror, supposed to be like a same age as Rodney, but a totally different character. So it's just seeing a different perspective. So yeah, Rodney asks him if he's going to the Pizza Palace, and Mickey says,
well, we're going down there, but we're with the birds, see?
Yes, in case anyone needs this to be clarified, I think everyone knows. Catherine Clark, who is Sheila in The Longest Night, is one of the women that is... in the group.
But one of the girls is £29.48.
£29.48.
48.
Yeah. So it's totally plausible that she worked at the superstore and is hanging out with them. It's not like a mistake or anything.
She looks a lot happier in this episode though than she did in The Longest Night.
Yeah. Maybe she sued the charm school. Mike offers Rodney the last 2 tickets again, and Mickey is a dick. He says,
He won't want 2, will he, Mike? Why would I want 2? Well, you won't be bringing a bird, will you?
Why shouldn't I be bringing a bird?
There's no reason, Rodney, but why break the habits of a lifetime, eh?
Now, I guess I never noticed here that Mickey wants to know who the girl is, but Rodney only just bought the tickets, so he wouldn't have had a chance to ask anyone yet. I never clicked with this.
I guess that he's implying that he's got a girlfriend who he'll bring, though. That's probably why that Mickey wanted to know who it was, because it was kind of implied that Rodney already had a girl in his life that he was going to bring to this thing.
Right,
But
yeah.
yes, I mean, obviously you can just do what Rodney did and go out and find a person to invite to something that you've got tickets for later.
Yeah, but if I were Rodney, I guess he doesn't think on his feet, so it makes sense. He could have just said, yeah, I haven't asked anyone yet. Leave me alone. But Mickey is pushy, and he's obviously trying to show him up in front of this group. He's asking for all the details of the girl. And then when he asks if it's the sort from the fishmongers, the whole group laughs at Rodney. Now, this is like where being an empath like really affects me. I hate scenes where I see somebody put on the spot and embarrassed. So I feel really bad for Rodney, everyone laughing at his expense here. So, of course, there is just joking around with mates, but this feels mean. And
yeah, this is definitely mean-spirited. I agree with you.
Yeah. So then Rodney is naturally inclined to inflate the truth, and he says that she's in show business. Now, who else does that? Del with Raquel, right?
Yes,
Why does
they
everyone
love it.
keep telling that? Why do they always tell everyone they're in show business? It's not like the easiest profession to find somebody.
No, but it is such a broad profession that can literally mean anything. They
It
might be holding
can.
the boom mic behind the camera, you know?
Yeah, and technically she's in show business if she performs in the pub. So yes, you're right.
Exactly.
So Mike won't be happy. More betting takes place here. They start off low.
Well, I've got 10, says you won't bring a bird on Saturday night.
Del pops into the conversation and Rodney lies to him, so Del encourages them to go on higher.
Go on, Rodney.
I know. Let's make it a nice round 50, eh?
So Del is nice and supportive of Rodney here, which I think is really nice. He brings him over to the table and Trig calls him Dave. There's no laugh. But he takes Trigger's chair and the poker game continues with verbal betting but no actual money. So now here Trigger looks at Boise's cards and signals to Del not to bet any higher. So it's really funny if you were to watch this episode straight after losing streak, you would find it strange because Boise is very kind of silly here and gullible when he's like, he actually believes this let's restart the betting thing that Del does.
I'll tell you what we can do. We can both take our bets back and start all over again, eh? And just, try to play a little more sensibly. All right?
All right, Del boy.
Sit down.
Anything you say. Right. £8.
I'll see ya.
Boise looks very pleased and then he realizes after they sped off, so double take you.
He's only won a quid.
Yeah. It's just very funny the way he's just sitting there at the table smiling and they've already left. So
Yeah.
So that's the end of the scene. What do you have on that scene, dude?
One of the things that I observed is that in this scene, the first time we see Albert playing the piano, everyone seems to be enjoying his music, including Del, as he hums the song as he's walking around the pub with the drinks. Oh, I'm in the mood.
Right, he does.
So they all like Albert's piano playing and singing, but that quickly changes later on.
Well, except for Trigger, because he says, I hope you don't do no more, though.
That's true. Trigger doesn't like it. That's true.
Even though he's singing along, so yeah, why?
Yeah, no, you're right. But I think most people in the pub seem to be enjoying it in the opening sequence. So yeah, I'm not sure what happens later why they all suddenly dislike it. Maybe it's because he plays the same thing over and over and over again and it just gets a bit annoying. Probably just wanted to play something new. One of the other notes that I had is that, I find it hard to believe that Mickey and Rodney both knew that it was a 50p bet, not a 50 quid bet, because no one mentioned P.
No.
And it's like, maybe that's a dynamic that was established outside of the episode that if Rodney and Mickey ever bet, they always bet in pence, not in pounds. But yes, I agree with you. That's a bit of a silly element to the episode that doesn't really make sense because, of course, you wouldn't bet 50p. And obviously Del pays him later 50 quid to take the bet off him, so he would have known then. But then it does also make sense that Rodney wouldn't tell Del to wind him up too.
Yeah.
So
and he didn't. He didn't tell Del that he said she was in show business either. So it's like he left out a lot of stuff.
So I just find it hard to believe that Mickey and Rodney both knew in that moment that it was 50p without stating it clearly, especially because they were like bragging and building it up in front of everyone. It would have looked ridiculous if they'd have been like 10p, 50p. Also, I agree with you. Why didn't Trigger just look at the cards when he was playing, when he was in a losing streak? I think I mentioned at the time that Grandad could have looked where he was sitting, but Trigger was in the middle, so he couldn't have really seen the cards. Rodney and Grandad saw the cards in that episode, but yeah, I do think that's funny, the difference to a losing streak to this episode. it's nice to see that they're not taking it too seriously. I also asked, what's a right Brahma?
I'm telling you the truth, Mickey. You want to see her and all. She's a right Brahma.
Oh, I don't know, but Rodney says that again in the future, doesn't he?
I just didn't know what that was. So I just wondered if you did or if anyone else
I
does,
didn't look
'cause
that up.
Yeah, it's okay. We can ask someone in the comments. Maybe can tell us what that means. Because, yeah, we don't know a right Brahma. I assume it's someone in showbiz that was famous at the time who was very attractive. But, yeah, no idea who it is.
I don't know.
And, yeah, I just said the punchline at the end of the scene. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Great way to end the scene with Boise looking bewildered and them all leaving. So.
Well, obviously, yes, they thought it was very funny because they're talking about it when we go back to the flat. So,
yes.
Cuts to the scene and the Trotters are all having a takeaway and Del is very enthusiastically telling the poker story. It's actually Albert that notices that Rodney is not himself, which is very sweet because, Albert's still quite new to their world. Rodney confesses.
Still, I ain't got a girl for Saturday night. I ain't got a girl for any night.
I know.
So sad.
So sad.
I feel like really bad for Rodney at this point. And I love the way that Del is worried at first about Rodney losing his money as well. It doesn't take him long for him to start saying mean things, but anytime that we see like a little flash of Del's caring about Rodney is always really sweet. So basically here Del and Albert make a bunch of suggestions, mostly jokes at the expense of women. And they're either tubby, too masculine, etc.
Yeah.
Overall, we're getting the idea here that Rodney goes on a lot of dates and it doesn't really work out for him.
Well, they haven't started a fan club yet, have they, Rodney?
No, Del, they haven't, have they?
So I didn't really understand the line.
I could not stand another night of... So I said to Zola, and Zola said to me...
They're talking about a girl that Rodney went out with that was supposedly masculine. All I could find online was a theory from one fan on comedy.co.uk that said it's a reference to Zola Budd, who was a South African long-distance runner who broke the world record in 1985 for the 5,000 meters. So it sounds pretty believable.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Somebody else said that they thought it was cut out because people wouldn't understand it. I've never seen a version of this where that line's cut out.
No, that's quite a memorable episode. That's quite a memorable quote, probably because of the way Nick Lyndhurst delivers the joke. I always remember it. But yes, I didn't know the meaning.
I never knew what it meant. I just assumed it was some sort of sports person who took a lot of steroids. Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think that's true about Zola Budd, though. So here, there's a funny line from Del. Obviously, it's the delivery that sells it here.
You want to be careful, Rodney. Look at that little thing you took the pictures the other week. Lucky not to get your collar felt.
Now, that's not fair. She swore blind to me she was 18.
That's right. How did Rodney know she was only 9?
I suppose that might not be a PC joke for some people. I don't know. I think it's just really funny the way Del says it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I know. I think that's really funny too. Yes.
So
I wrote that down in my notes.
Rodney ends up getting pretty irritable about all this and he storms off out the room and Del kind of follows him and confirms that he doesn't want to call Big Brenda. We get a strange inaudible response here, which I assume is supposed to be a lot of bad language from Rodney and they don't want to include it.
Are you sure you don't want me to phone up that Big Brenda? Oi, what's your language? These walls, they're paper thin.
It seems a little bit weird that they have like inaudible line to me.
It sounds like he's brushing his teeth, doesn't it?
But I think it's just a setup for Del's really funny line of...
Don't know what the younger generation's come into. I can't even swear without effing and blinding, So
that's the end of that segment at Nelson Mandela. Did you have any notes on that scene, dude?
I had a question. How much do we reckon the Trotters spend on takeaways in a week?
I don't know. I don't think it's much to get a little takeaway like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
not
you're feeding 3 people. Del's paying for all 3, right?
Not
Every
back in
single
those
time.
days, though, dude. I mean, I remember when we were kids going to the Chippy. It was less than £1 for chips.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like Chippy food. That's like got the silver foil containers. It's like it's a Chinese, isn't it?
I would say Asian takeaways, Indian and Chinese, are even cheaper. Yeah,
Really?
back in the 80s. Yeah, anyone remember back in the 80s?
I don't, obviously.
It's obviously very expensive now to get takeout or takeaways, but yeah, I don't think it was that much back then. I mean, they're not very good cooks.
I mean, actually, Del's not a bad cook. He cooks the sausage and mash for Rodney in Strained Relations.
If you're going to wonder about anything, I would wonder how much they spend down the pub.
Yeah, both of the things combined, yes.
And how much money Del spends stocking up his minibar.
Well, yeah, I said that in the Hole in One that they've still got enough money to go and have a drink down the pub, even though they're supposed to be absolutely
They always
flat broke,
prioritise that, though, which we remember in the future. Like when Del is hard up, he's always got his slate. He always says he has to keep up appearances. So clothes, socialising, drinking is always very important to them.
Yeah, very true. And then just one of the lines I really like, because I kind of use this now as to mean the same thing, when he says,
She'll go out with you, Rodney, because she ain't got a full deck.
I like using that to indicate someone's stupid. That's quite funny. Yeah, I think I said it in the introduction when I was explaining about why I love this episode. The best comedies always when two of them gang up on one, and you know, Albert and Del are sort of going on Rodney here and taking the piss out of him, which is commented on in the next scene. So yeah, I think it works really well. The comedy trio, that's kind of how it works. It's very funny. Yeah, that's all I had to say.
We cut to perhaps later that day or the next day. I'm not sure when it is.
I guess later that day, I would have said, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like Rodney went to bed, though. I don't know. Maybe he just stormed out.
That's true, because they came home from the pub, didn't they, and had dinner. So yeah, it would be the next day.
Yeah, okay, let's
And
say
Del's changed clothes.
Let's say it's the next day. So Del is finishing up on a phone call, and he tells Albert that he's phoning around all his old birds and trying to find a date for Rodney. Did you notice the cut line here? There's a line that's been cut, apparently, from all home media releases since the mid-90s, where David Jason says,
Tell you what, Uncle, phoning around some of your old birds, don't have to make you feel your age.
Some of them married now, are they?
Well, a couple of them are dead.
Yeah, so somebody on IMDb said that this was cut for sensitivity reasons following the death of David Jason's long-term girlfriend in 1995. I would want to say her name, but I'm not sure I can pronounce it correctly because it's Welsh, but I can try. Is it Mifanwi Talog? Let me know in the comments if I butchered that. I don't want to not say her name because I'd like to say it, of course. But yeah, apparently that's the reason.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's
because I know that
interesting.
line wasn't in the home video that we had. I know that.
Yeah, that makes me think of the same, they cut the line in
Thicker Than Water, yeah. Cut for sensitivity reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
So Albert tells Del that Mickey Pierce called to wind Rodney up. And it's kind of sweet to see Del get annoyed on Rodney's behalf a little bit here. I think we'll go back to the episode rankings discussion here, and I'm a bit of a sucker for the episodes where they work together and support each other. I always like that.
Yeah.
So anytime that they're working together on a project, I tend to like it better. So Rodney comes out of the bedroom and he's all dressed up to go out on the town, and I think we all remember this outfit is synonymous with this episode.
Yeah.
It's the Bertie Bassett. So Albert's response here is so funny, even though, and it gets applause from the audience where he comes and says,
That reminds me, I'm playing dominoes down the Legion tonight.
You look like a licorice all sorts.
Rodney is insistent that he's going to go out and pull a bird for Saturday night, and Del tells him,
A Brahma. He says a Brahma.
oh,
again,
right, Brahma, yeah. And Del tells him,
Rodney, use your loaf. You're never going to pull a tart dressed up like Bertie Bassett.
I don't know if people outside the UK would get that joke, would they? Like licorice all sorts. Are they a quintessentially British thing, aren't they?
I'm not sure, I'll have to ask my husband.
Yeah.
I know he-
See
I
if he
don't
knows who
think-
Bertie Bassett is.
He likes licorice, but I don't think he liked licorice all sorts, I'm not sure. It's worth mentioning here that Albert brings out the food, and it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it's like a salady thing, isn't it?
Albert's not known to be a bad cook, though, is he? That was a granddad thing.
Yeah, that was a granddad thing. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why they're trying to sort of separate those two as characters in this area, because it was such a
Yeah.
signature part of Granddad's character.
Because I feel like Del enjoys the food that Albert cooks him in the future, like the fry-ups and stuff. So
He certainly never mentions that he doesn't like Albert's food, so
put it in the oven. Put it in the oven.
in the oven. Yeah.
You know what you can do with it. So Sullivan must have decided that maybe to keep the bad cooking as a granddad thing. I just wrote that in my notes here. So
Yeah.
Del says he's going to go with Rodney, and he tells Albert to stop winding him up. But they're both guilty of winding him up. So I don't know what
That's
he's
why
telling
it's so
Albert.
funny, though, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
he's like, "You stop winding him up," but he's the one who's doing most of the winding up.
Yeah, they keep both making little digs. Albert asks Rodney why none of his dates ever want to see him again, and Del brings up Rodney's uniform thing again, but it ain't that in this case. He basically tells him that he falls in love too easily and gets serious too quickly, which is funny because of what he's saying.
Oh,
at
the
beginning
irony,
of To
yes.
Hull and Back, yeah. Like, but yeah, I think Rodney is always... This is maybe some sincere side of Rodney, because he's full of front at other times when he's saying he's not into the women and stuff, like with Imogen and To Hull and Back.
No, I was going to say that Del always falls in love too easily, and that's why it was ironic that he's the one saying it.
I just fall in love too easy, that's my trouble.
You don't know what love is, Rodney. You haven't had enough experience to know.
But though Del does admit that too here. So, because Albert agrees that it's a trotter trait. Del brushes that off, yes, but we know that from Del's loved theme episodes that both the Trotter brothers fall in love very quickly with the same woman many times. Albert, interestingly, gets his first proper story here, although it doesn't start with during the war, because it hasn't that hasn't kicked in yet, but it starts with,
I was in love once.
Yeah, terrific.
so Del cuts him off to describe his vision of love, which is very cheesy and quite long and descriptive. And then Rodney does what Del normally does and rubbishes it by saying,
Oh, come on, Del, that ain't a vision of love. It's a yogurt commercial.
I've got to say, isn't it interesting he calls it commercial and not
I thought
advert?
that too, yeah. Why doesn't he say advert? Yeah, weird. Albert has gone at this point and he comes back to tell his tale. He comes back with a photo.
That's Helga.
Helga?
Helga who? I was in love with her. I don't think I ever really stopped loving her.
So Del and Rodney try to leave, but Del gives them a look and they feel guilty. So they sit down to hear the rest of the tale. So Albert tells them of a time that he fell in love during the war, but of course he was still married to your Aunt Ada at the time. But he talks of Helga, a woman that he met in Germany, and he asked her to marry him, and she said no. And every time he hears the word 9, he thinks of Helga.
What, because that's how many fingers she had?
I think you were right about this episode's highlights being the dynamics here between the trotters, I would say. To me, the bar scene is not as strong as these scenes, so...
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. This is the best scene, I think, the one you've just described. And I agree. This scene in particular has got a lot of great lines, I think, really memorable ones for good contenders for the best line of the episode.
After Albert leaves, it seems like Rodney has lost his confidence, but Del actually offers to buy the bet off him, which is pretty important here. It's a lovely gesture. Rodney snaps it up, doesn't even think for a second to tell him that the bet's only 50p. But I feel like the end of this scene seems quite familiar. So I wrote that I think it's like Miami Twice, but I can't remember why. I think it reminds me of that scene in the bedroom when they're both excited to go on the trip. I'm not sure.
Oh, because he brings in his swimming trunks and goes, yeah, good job I kept them, and gives them to Rodney. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all I had. So did you have notes on that scene?
The first thing I was wondering, because Del's calling his old birds, wouldn't that include Yvonne? Because it seems like they've got a bit of a history.
I'm not sure. Yeah, does it seem like that in the next scene? I didn't...
It does seem to me that there's a bit... She calls him Fresh. I mean, he's got a nickname, so I don't know. There's definitely something between them. Maybe
just
they didn't
flirt.
date, but even so, like, she should have been someone he would have thought to have called, I would have thought. I love Rodney's reaction to...
What are you going to wear?
Sunglasses, I should think.
All right,
Calm down.
There's actually, I was going to say, the dynamic between the three of them in the scene, I don't know why. It reminds me of me, you and Fran growing up, because we used to have that dynamic where one week we'd be best friends and we'd be picking on Fran, and then the other week you and Fran would be best friends picking on me. Admittedly, that was the majority of the time. But then sometimes me and Fran would be friends and picking on you, although we dared not because we were afraid of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, all families are like
Well, I
that.
think it's more about the three people in a group that spend a lot of time together, because, you know, my two best friends in Hong Kong, there's the three of us that hang out together, and it ends up like that when we're all sitting around, you know, having drinks and stuff, that two of us might sort of get wind that the other one's bothered about something, and then the two sort of gang up and have a go and tell joke after joke on this one person until we've exhausted it, and then the loyalties switch, you know. And I feel like that happens a lot in the three of them. Like I said, it's either Del and Rodney versus Albert, or it's Albert and Del versus Rodney, or Rodney and Albert versus Del. It's quite nice that they can play with that dynamic.
Well, that's why it was, so important to John Sullivan to have the three characters and the three perspectives. And from the very beginning of time, Grandad has always either sided with Rodney or Del, hasn't he? So, yeah, it's important that they still have that. And here is an example of why it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say as well, it's like you mentioned, it's lovely that Del sort of hints to Rodney to sit back down when Albert starts talking. He can see that Albert is, you know, quite serious in this moment, even though the story ends up being really funny. Albert's character is definitely not, you know, taking it lightly. He keeps a complete straight face, and even has a go at Del when he says,
Little finger on her right hand was missing.
Caught around in the till, did she?
No, she lost it when her home was bombed. Her entire family was wiped out.
and obviously, yeah, those moments when you tell a joke inappropriately, like, yeah, that really hits hard too, and very well acted here. And actually, I just had one question. When Albert says,
I think in her own way she loved me. She never used to charge me as much as the other lads.
she was a prostitute, right?
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't get that from that.
I thought that's why Del said it hits like bile, because he was in love with her and she was a prostitute.
No, because she worked in the shop. That's why.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure. But like, I don't know, there was something about the way he delivered that line that always made me think that like another punchline on top of the 9 fingers thing was the fact that she was also a prostitute. Maybe I just misheard that.
No, I thought the bile thing was just a way of saying that they don't want to listen to Albert's war stories, and they always end up with something really silly, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, I've always thought that meant she was a prostitute, that line. So obviously I've just got a really dirty mind.
I don't know. I just thought that it meant that she, with the till, because you mentioned the till. Yeah. Never
Yeah, no,
over.
it does make sense too. I always thought that's what that meant. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that part.
Okay, so we're going to cut to the club here. So Rodders and Dal come in, and we can deduce that it's not been going well.
God, we've been everywhere. Empire, Leicester Square, Hammersmith, Palace, you name it, we've danced there. And the only thing I've pulled is a ligament in me back trying to do that bloody break dancing.
So here Rodney admits to Dal that the girl has to be special because he told Mickey Pierce that she was in show business. So Dal is starting to lose faith here, you can see as they sit down at a table. Rodney is rolling a roll-up.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that too. He doesn't take out a pack of fags. He has roll-up cigarettes.
This is the first time, right? Or the only time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's usually just got a pack of fags. So yeah, that's interesting. I agree.
Yeah. So Rodney's not keen on the location, and he says it's a trouble place. Dal insists that it's fine. I'm going to skate right over all the derogatory discussions of women at the next table, because I think we've done that already in Go West Young Man and Christmas Crackers, and I think...
and a million other episodes.
Yeah, I just don't see the point. It's not necessary here. I think leaving the studio sets for these kinds of scenes in the future actually makes a massive difference to the way that they're written and edited, because they are no longer like needing to fill the time with discussions of who else is in the bar and looking around trying to make it seem like a bar. They just cut to the point in the future, and things like Yuppie Love and Chain Gang, where they're actually in proper bars and casinos. So
yeah.
So Dal goes over to the bar, and this is where he sees Yvonne. So Yvonne was played by actress Carolyn Allen. The description in the script of her is an attractive, if tarty, woman. She is all body and little brains. Yeesh.
I nailed her. But she's all hair as well.
Yeah, she's all head. Hair. Yeah. So that was very typical for that time, though, big hair. It's like Marlene's hair. So we soon learn that she is a stripper, and she seems to know Dal pretty well, but she tells him a few bits about her career, mentions that she's been fired from her job. So this is a line that we sometimes quote, isn't it, where she says,
"Doctor says I've got a drink problem." I says to him, "I ain't got no problem, I like it."
Dal starts to get very close to her, so it seems like he's coming on to her, and this is where we get the famous cut. The Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are.
I love
Orlando.
you just the way you are.
Gordon Bennett's my bloody hero, Bonnie.
And we mentioned earlier, it's also the same song. John Sullivan must have loved this song and then had deep regret about using it twice.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Because, we'll say this in the future, but we'll do a little spoiler here. The discussion in that Jolly Boys Outing scene is really important and critical to the story, so it shouldn't have used a song that cuts it.
I mean, I think it's insane that you can get so annoyed about a song being used when it's not the original artist singing it and it's just covers, or it's just like a drunk girl singing it in a bar, which is what this is, and it's still cut. That's crazy.
It's literally
to
just
me.
2 lines, yeah.
Yeah.
But just about that little piece, it's very similar to when Dal yells at, is it Raquel? When she's singing. Yeah.
Raquel's singing in the Starlight Rooms. Her voice didn't half travel, didn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, shut up, we're going to play it, you're singing.
Yeah, because she starts getting louder suddenly.
I think it's actually T for 3 I'm thinking of, when he yells at the woman singing in the talent show.
Well, he does it twice. He does it in Stage Fright and he does it in T for 3. Yes, he does it in both.
But yeah, the rising voice and him saying shut up thing, it's a recurring joke. So ultimately Dal manages to swing a date here for Rodney, but he does tell Yvonne that it's for a bet, and he even pays her. So she's not too happy about it, and even less so when she finds out that she has to go over and actually chat up Rodney herself. But she does go over to over there, and Nick Lyndhurst does a really great job here of being the super awkward Rodney, calling himself Rod.
My name's Yvonne.
I'm Rod.
And of course nearly falling off his chair. So he's really awful at picking up the cues, and Yvonne has to be incredibly pushy.
I heard someone was throwing a party tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But now it looks as though I'd have to spend the evening in on my own.
Oh.
Yes, I've got absolutely nothing to do tomorrow night.
So finally Rod does ask her out, and she makes a pretty swift exit as soon as soon as she got what she needs. Del comes back over to Rodney, and he has a huge, really goofy grin on his face. It's a perfect smile.
Don't tell me you've pulled.
I have.
You haven't.
So this is the end of that scene, even though I didn't write it in my script. Do you have any other notes on the bar scene?
Yeah, you probably won't be able to answer this stuff because you said you skipped over a lot of the derogatory comments about women, but
Oh, I did.
Bo
yeah.
Derek, Bo Diddley.
Oh, no. I mean, I know what that means, yeah.
I don't.
So Bo Derek is very famously the woman from the movie 10, like the perfect actress, the perfect beautiful woman that runs down the beach in the movie 10.
Okay.
So,
And Bo Diddley?
oh, god damn it. I know who
Sorry,
they
you
are.
don't have to know all this stuff. I just wondered if you knew who that was.
Let me look it up.
Just so I can picture it a bit better. I mean, obviously, it's someone who's beautiful looking ugly. That's what the joke is. But yeah, I just wondered who those two people were because they referenced them.
Bo Diddley was just an American guitarist and singer. I think that's just a play on Bo, because Bo Derek being the most beautiful woman.
Yeah, another line that I did actually really like, even though you're right, it's just a repetition of the girlfriend's dogs thing.
Betty Davis is a film star.
Yeah, well, so was Rin Tin Tin, but I ain't taking a bloody Alsatian to get dinner.
I just thought, wouldn't Rodney have seen Del talking to her at the bar? And wouldn't Rodney have heard the conversation? Because
And the
especially when she starts
singing.
singing. Yeah, she's really loud. So obviously the singing's cut in most of the versions of this episode. But yeah, when she's singing, she's really loud. Like Rodney, the whole bar would have looked over at that point. So there's no way that Rodney wouldn't have seen Del talking to her and know that he was involved in some way.
That would have been much more believable in the future club scenes, because maybe the bar was around the corner or maybe there was lots of noise. But yeah, because of the small setup.
Yeah. They're literally in his eye line where he's sitting. He's not even got their back. If he'd been on the other side of the table, it might have been better because he'd had their back to them at least. But he's not. He's literally, all he had to do was look up and he'd have seen him. So
Right.
yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, that part. I actually think Yvonne is a really great character. I really enjoyed her performance in this scene. I think she's really funny. A lot of the delivery of the lines. Again, two that stand out, you've already said. The I ain't got a problem, I like it. And the I've got absolutely nothing to do tomorrow night. Just all of it. And she just seems really casual with Del. They have a great chemistry. I'm sorry we don't see her again. I would have liked to have seen her again. I think she's funny. The actress is funny. The character's funny.
Yeah. She reminds me a bit of June.
Yes, that's true. She does. Yeah. I would have liked more episodes with June
Yes,
as well. It's a
definitely,
shame she
yeah.
only comes back in the one episode and, not a very favoured one. But yeah, I liked Yvonne. I think she would have been, and again, someone that I would have believed Del dating. Maureen,
Yeah.
Yvonne. I want Del to date everyone. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I had for this scene.
Maybe he has.
Maybe he has, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, here is what I mentioned about where I think they needed to go to the Nags Head. I feel like this episode would have been much better ending on the actual party. Maybe it was just too complicated for them, and they certainly wouldn't have been able to get a snake on the set. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's too abrupt, and so they cut basically to Del bursting into the flat wearing a very funny pirate's hat. So we assume that he's getting home from the do. The doorbell starts frantically ringing, and we get a bit of an explanation for Del's panic because he knows Rodney's going to be very angry with him, and he talks to him through the door. But it's actually Albert. So Del lets
Why would
Albert
Albert
in.
ring the doorbell? That's the first thing I asked. Doesn't he got a key?
Maybe they have a key. Well, maybe because Del put the catch on. I don't know.
He didn't.
Oh, he didn't.
He,
Okay.
he opens the door, but there's no catch or anything. So yeah,
I
why
don't
did
know.
Albert not have a key to get in?
Not sure about that. Maybe Albert doesn't have it. Well, I don't know. So
Because Rodney comes in without one in a minute. So if that's the case, there's only
Yeah.
one.
Well, Albert confirms that Rodney is very angry and Yvonne has done something very bad. We don't know what that is yet, but Rodders is soon going to tell us.
Tonight, in front of half of Peckham, the bird I told everyone was my girlfriend stood on a counter and took all her clothes off.
Followed by a really great line from Albert.
Don't think anyone noticed, Rodney.
Well, you certainly noticed, Uncle, because you stood on a chair to notice.
Yeah.
And at one point, he almost knocked you off.
That's right, he said.
See, this is why we really needed the scene. Yeah, I think we know from the dates episode that Albert does like the stripper. So
I was going to say maybe that's one of the reasons they thought of it for dates to put the scene in, because this was an opportunity that they now had that they didn't have in this episode. I'm not sure, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities with the scene in Dates as there is to this, that like someone discovers that their girlfriend's a stripper in the moment. Obviously there's no snake, and it's obviously a lot more important in Dates when Del realizes. But yeah, maybe
it does feel like, that this was like the original idea, and then he was like, oh, we could use it again because we didn't actually show it happen last time. So yeah.
And to be fair, it would have been difficult because from the sounds of it, when I describe in this episode, Yvonne gets completely naked.
Yeah.
Not just like into her underwear. It sounds like she takes all her clothes off. So
Yeah.
that would have been hard to show.
Yeah. I mean, it also would have involved filming another big party scene with lots of extras involved. So I get it, but I do think that this suffers a little bit from not just being the party. So
Fair enough.
But here we get the reveal after getting a lot of the anger off his chest. Finally, Rodney does admit that he won the bet.
Yeah, I won the bet, all right.
Ah, good boy. Did Mickey Pierce pay up?
Yeah, he paid up. He was laughing, but he paid up.
All right, come on. Let's have the 50. What's this? 50 pence?
Yeah. Oh, I bet I know what you thought.
So this is the ultimate punchline that the whole episode has led up to. And yeah, I think this would have been a good place to end the episode. So I do think, again, it's a little bit of a mistake to turn it around and have Albert be the butt of the joke and the snake in the hood thing. It's a little bit anticlimactic. I think maybe just hearing that the bet was 50p would have been a better way to end it. But that's all I had.
That's interesting you say that, because actually I got to say I disagree with that, because I think the 50p reveal is not that good, to the point where I don't think it would have, like I said, it's a bit silly really that was like the silliest part of this episode to me, that's a 50p bet and it's 50 pence bet versus a 50 quid bet. Because, like I said at the beginning, they would have known that the other one was betting 50p rather than 50 quid for some reason. And then Del gave him 50 quid. He didn't say anything. I don't know. Maybe that's not that good of a punchline. And then it doesn't get that big of a laugh either, does it? When he says the 50 pence. I don't know what you thought.
But also, yeah, like it's weird because Rodney's really angry at Del to the point that he's chasing him down the street. And then he suddenly turns it back on Albert. Like at the end, like that's another thing.
Yeah, but again, we said earlier, that's the dynamic of the three. Like 1 minute they're like ganging up on this one, and then the next minute they turn on them. And actually, I wrote that down as a highlight at the end of this episode that it switches again, because it's Rodney versus Albert and Del, and then it's and then it switches to Rodney and Del versus Albert suddenly, because Albert he goes over the line. It's always about them stepping over the line that changes the dynamics and the rules of the three of them together. And Albert obviously taking the piss out of them.
I can't wait to tell the boys down the market. Rodney's girl did a strip and Del Boy won a 50 pence bet.
This is something that's going to hurt both of their prides. So I actually love that moment where it goes silent and they kind of look at each other, and then Rodney comes out with this idea and Del just joins in straight away. Of course, the snake in the duffel coat thing was a bit ridiculous, because there's no way that Albert wouldn't have felt it there before this moment when he was walking back from the pub and everything else, of course. But in the moment, maybe because he knows there was a snake there and no one knows where it went either. Maybe that's believable, I guess. But the biggest thing that's not believable to me is the fact that they hiss at him from the door, which is so far away. There's no way he wouldn't have noticed if they'd been right behind him when they did that. Fair enough, But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not the best ending, of course, to the episode, but it's not the worst, in my opinion. And I do think it's better to end it this way than to end it with 50 pence. I better know what you thought.
Well, another thing is that there's no way that this was written for Grandad and then switched, because Grandad didn't wear a duffel coat. And he never went down the pub either. I mean, very rarely. So, yeah, we know that this was kind of put in for
Grandad
Albert.
wouldn't have stood on a chair to notice, I don't think either.
Maybe he would. Do you have any other notes?
Again, I ask, why is Del scared of Rodney? Trying to get away from him. What does he think Rodney's going to do when he's chasing him around? That reminded me of Yuppie Love. You conning it! And chasing him around.
Yeah.
And I think that was everything I had for this scene. So, yeah. I said I don't mind this episode. I think it's a good one. So
Don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right, then, if there's nothing else, then let's move on to our awards for this week.
And guess what? He's only one.
So, as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week, and we'll start with Plonker of the Week.
You little plonker.
So, for Plonker of the Week, we will each nominate a Plonker and we'll discuss and decide who wins. So, dude, why is Rodney your Plonker?
How did you know that
Maybe
Rodney...
you didn't choose him.
No, I did choose Rodney.
I chose Rodney.
Yeah, how did you know? What's your reason?
Because I just think he's kind of the obvious plonker of this episode.
Yes, I think so. I mean, because again, Mickey Pierce is mean. Del is actually trying to help. So nobody else really actually falls under the category of plonker. Rodney's a plonker for A, taking the bet and not just saying, oh, I'll get a date later, and then lying to Del and then it being 50p. So Rodney, for sure.
Yeah, I just put Rodney manufactured the whole situation, and then he was so stubborn about who he was going to bring. He kept turning down perfectly good suggestions and perfectly good women. And I just put, Why do you have to tell lies, Rodney? Yes.
Yeah. That's a good one, yeah.
So Rodney is this week's plonker of the week.
Yeah, well, I wasn't telling a complete truth.
So this week, Jenny will award the best line of the episode, and I have chosen the best moment. So, dude, what did you choose for the best line of this episode?
So yeah, I just wrote one line down. I'm sure there are others that you can do in the honorable mentions, but the one I chose was, I can't remember how it goes, but it ends with every time I hear the word 9, I think of Elga.
Elga.
Well, because that's the only finger she had.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I think that's the most memorable. That story, I remember it all the time. Whenever I think about Albert's stories, this is one of the first ones I think of. Because, that punchline is just fantastic.
Yeah. And did you write down any honorable mentions? I sometimes forget to do that.
That was literally the one that I wrote down. I think that is the best line of this episode. I think it's indisputable, but maybe some people don't.
No, I mean, I'd love to hear everybody else's favourite lines. I know some people have been putting their favourite lines in the comments, which is great, because even though we go through the whole episode and we say all of our lines that we love, when I get to this point, I always forget which ones I've said. So let's put them in the comments and remind us. So you've chosen best moment for the week, dude. Which moment did you choose?
Yeah, even though there's not really anything in this episode that kind of stands out as a moment that's great, but I have 3, I guess, that I narrowed it down to. So one of them was Albert's love story. That's a moment that I think people can remember. I love Maureen getting the money from Del.
Yeah.
You swine, you. And thank you very much. And also I put meeting Yvonne, because I said I really like the character of Yvonne. So her moment in the bar.
Yeah.
I guess I would go with, out of those 3, the one that, again, I think a lot of people remember from this episode, Albert's love story.
Yeah, I think so, because it's Albert's first war story too, which is pretty important if you think about the development of his character. It's pretty important. And also, it's like, it's only his, 6th episode?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the way that Buster Merrifield played it was so sincere. He wasn't playing it for laughs. He was doing it deadly serious. Like, you really believed that Albert was in love with this woman and he was thinking about her when he was telling the story. So there was something really lovely and sincere about it, which again, we get to see more of later in, the most sort of famous episode is the He Ain't Heavy Is My Uncle episode at the end when he's on the road where he was born.
Yes.
And he does that whole speech. I mean, that's so touching. And again, you can really see that the acting abilities of Buster Merrifield here when he starts doing these very sincere, meaningful stories.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice balance. And also, the way he delivers punchlines in these stories is in a serious way, but it's funny. Yeah. So that's why these work and why it was continued to be used all the way through till the very end.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, drink up, we're leaving.
Okay, so that about wraps it up for this week. We wanted to wish everybody a happy Halloween for next week and join us next Saturday when we will be discussing Series 4, Episode 7, As One Door Closes. Until then...
My darling.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehookeystreetpodcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Bonjour.